Okay, hello. Thank you so much for choosing us over lunch. I promise to fill your bellies with a lot of food for thought, at least. And we're here to talk about a very more introspective topic. Right? We spend most of our lives in the digital world right now, socializing, working, consuming. And we're in an age where you have AI chatbots and virtual humans that are so lifelike, you can't even tell the difference between the real and the artificial. So I think it's important that we start asking ourselves this question. What does it mean to be human in a digital world? My name is Michelle. I lead Deloitte Southeast Asia's Futures think tank, the Center for the Edge. Seems like a criteria to be a moderator in this conference is to have edge in your title. And just to explain the edge we refer to, we think all disruptions emerge from an edge, the edge of business, technology, and social trends. And very clearly, one place where the edges of business, technology, and social trends are rapidly converging is the virtual world. And so I'm very excited to have my fellow panel of edge explorers with me. We have Sebastien Borget, co-founder and CEO of Sandbox. We have Nikhil, who leads Web3 and gaming at One Championship. And we have, of course, Bidyut, who is the head of innovation at DBS Group. Now, to start us off, maybe we just have a warm-up question for those people who have been living under a rock the past few years and have not heard what Sandbox is. Sebastien, could you, in a nutshell, explain what Sandbox is? And for those who are familiar, what can we expect in the next few months?
All right. Hi, everyone. So the Sandbox is essentially a decentralized virtual world. It's a platform where anyone can become a creator, start developing 3D content or even experiences without any knowledge of programming, share that content for others to access, and truly own whatever they create so that they can monetize it the way they want. We've been partnering with roughly 400 brands around the world, growing to about 5 million users with a wallet and already launching a good number of experiences, including with DBS, which just announced a Bitter World experience, and probably very soon here with One Championship. And we'll have a major announcement tomorrow in Singapore in partnership with Habitat. It would be quite special. We set up a big production behind. What's coming next? So we just released about a month ago self-publishing, meaning like any of the 24,000 unique landowners that we have on our platform can open their experience to the public. So maybe you didn't know that Sandbox wasn't really open to the public yet. It was having like seasons or events, but now it's really full UGC. So we're starting to see over 170 experiences in a month that became live, pushing more user-generated content than just brand content on the platform. And then upgrade of the different tools, more features, more socialization, and next year mobile. That's roughly
It
the
sounds
roadmap.
really, really exciting. It sounds like we are entering a new phase for Sandbox. And especially your presence in Singapore as well is growing. Thank you so much. And maybe Nikhil, over to you. So, at One Championship, it's a very physical experience, but can you tell us what you've been up to in the digital world?
Hello? Yeah. So just a quick introduction about One Championship to those who don't know, right? We are one of Asia's largest global sports media property, and the sports property are based around, sport that we're based around is martial arts, right? We have more than 75 million fans across our social media channels, and we hit more than 250 million people, unique people across our broadcast. So we've been up to a lot of experiments in Web3, right? Our most recent one is announcing a partnership with Sandbox, and we're kind of building the experience, and it will hopefully go out in Q1 of 2024. That's there. We've also partnered with Animoca. It's been more than a year. We've been building a mobile game that's there, which has the optional Web3 layer. There are also a couple of, I would say, products that are under the hood, which focus around, I would say, ticketing and loyalty, which we're kind of experimenting with. But all, what I'll say is it's small experiments to see how fans resonate and connect with different products, and then keep building from there.
Nice. Okay. So sounds like a lot to look out for as well. Bidyut, over to you. So DBS is just entered the Web3 and metaverse. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey and experience?
Sure. Actually, so we've broken up, we've taken two dimensions. One is the inside and the outside. So internal, external. On the internal side, we actually built out, because we wanted to get, I guess, more experience, create a little bit more tech muscle. We built out our own internal metaverse ground up. So we picked up one of the gaming engines and we built it out for all our internal employees. And we've released a bunch of experiences around collaboration, community building. And we've sort of linked our own create our own currency. We've got our own auctions platform. We've got our own soft wallets, etc. And we've linked it into some of our our cafeterias exterior. So we've got an online to offline experience. So that's on the internal side. That's within the walls of the organization. We can play around. We can go crazy. We can learn. Externally, we went for some of the things we know, and then we're trying to explore some things that are very, very new to us. In the spaces we know, we've launched out our own exchange, which does currencies, cryptocurrencies. We've got a custody solution, and we've got a tokenization engine. Then in the spaces that were very, very new to us, we decided to go and explore. So we partnered off with Sandbox, and we've built out, we've just done a little sneak media preview. And now that we know that, of course, we can publish, we're going to be looking at launching that. But we went in for the theme of sustainability and purpose. So because just looking at the demographic of people that are jumping in the metaverse, we said, okay, what would be a key message that we wanted to impart? So we built out a sustainability-based experience with our foundation partners, which talks to what are some of the problems in the real world and how people can bridge that and take that awareness in the digital world and transfer and create an impact in the one planet that we have.
It's very nice, connecting it back to your purpose-driven objective at DBS. So clearly, we are in very good hands today with people who are very, very experienced in building these very experiences that resonate deeply at the human level, I think. So interestingly, Nikhil and Bidyut, both of you have chosen to build experiences on the Sandbox. Tell us a bit about how you think about what partners or what platforms you choose.
Sure. So I think it's about alignment on what you're trying to build together, right? See, end of the day, it's not like you can put out a product and people are going to engage. It has to be something that's meaningful to them. It has to be built from the ground up, and it has to resonate with them, right? It has to be great from the scratch, and you keep building as consumers and communities are built around it, right? So Sandbox had a very similar thought process when we were kind of approaching different partners, and that's what really kind of convinced us, let's do this, let's partner with them, let's build something together. So it's, that's the journey that we are on, right? It's just been now some 3-4 months, but we've already made a lot of progress on what we're trying to build together. And, just seeing the different announcements that Sandbox is doing and also expanding the capabilities of what you can do in Sandbox really makes it a lot more conducive environment for us to kind of experiment and put things out.
So 3 reasons. The first was it looked really cool. So from an experience perspective, it's okay, this is something that we could really play with. So that was the first one. The second one is these virtual worlds are really lonely if you're there by yourself. So we looked at, of course, the strength of the Animoca family and looked at the entire ecosystem and said, if that entire engine comes to play and starts churning, that could be a really, really meaningful space. So that was the second. And the third reason is we thought if it's good enough for Snoop Dogg, it's good enough for us.
Rightly said. Okay, now Sebastien, over to you. So, you clearly have 2 very happy brands over here. For those who are a little bit more skeptical, and given we are crypto winter, there's a lot of skepticism about it. How do we know that the demand is real? It's not, just hype.
Well, we see that every day. Basically, at Sandbox, we want to create a world of culture, a virtual world that really encompasses a lot of culture, a lot of values, such as we mentioned before, sustainability, inclusivity, diversity. And how we achieve that is Basically, we are developing virtual neighborhoods on our map by curating content that comes either from thematics like movie, music, sustainability, or by including different regions of the world. We launched Turkish verse, we launched Korea verse, we had mega cities that represent Greater China, and we're about to launch something related to a city with a mermaid lion very soon. And we make sure that we incorporate on one side some of the top brands, top celebrity, top partners from the region. We help them to onboard into Web3, and next to them we also include like the local Web3 communities that have started to emerge, so they become virtual neighbors, and that appeals towards like users from that region who want to be part of that neighborhood, to participate into this new social discovery layer, support each other, collaborate with each other, and represent their culture, their tradition, their heritage, their landmarks, etc. in the metaverse. And we've been doing so, and every time we introduce a land sale in Sandbox, because we didn't sell the whole map, it always sell out. Even in the current market, we are able to sell out all the land sale that we launch. When we introduce Avatar collection, so in a similar way, we are just a quote, like an avatar basically is your new digital identity in the metaverse. It's a 3D character that represents you and you use to socialize, interact, play, dance, etc. We have many different partnerships. We launch unique collection of 2,000 or 3,000 avatars that are an NFT. Each one is unique. Nobody can be like you. We've done Elvis Presley, Steve Aoki, Snoop Dogg, Paris Hilton. We've done more gamified one, like Cut the Rob, the Rabbit. We also done avatars that relate to like, for example, people of crypto. That's a collection to represent LGBTQT plus population, etc. And they always sell out again. So far we're able to show that having a platform that cares on certain values, that has a purpose, a meaning, that is already accessible and showcase experiences, is able to drive engagement, to drive adoption, and hence still drive new users versus no matter what the crypto market condition can be.
Yeah, so
Actually,
Sebastien,
I'll just jump just on the hype side, because I was just asked recently to go and speak up at our group management committee about point of view and whether we felt that the bet was still valid. And so talk about tipping points and talk about accelerants. So we looked at immersive tech, and that's been going gangbusters. You've got a lot happening in the space of fundamental enabling technology, be it compute, be it store, etc., connectivity. There's been a lot of new developments on haptic, a lot of new developments on wearables, and of course, everyone's waiting out for the new Apple headset to drop next year. You look at the second layer on content, where if you break it down, you can say people coming to play, people coming to live, and people coming to work. And there were the three dimensions when they talked about alternate realities or virtual worlds. The play side, it's booming. You can see the drops on all the new games, contents, franchises. It's really booming. And I started looking at, there was big talk about whether things would taper down after COVID, because there was such an up trajectory on people when they were stuck in their houses. If you look at Fortnite, at the COVID time, the daily users was somewhere around 18 million per day, currently sitting at 25, gone up. Roblox was sitting at 40 something million per day. It's at 65.5 million per day. So the trajectory has continued on. So that part, great. On the platforms, so I started looking at proxies. And of course, if you think about metaverse, deja vu, you got Second Life, which was started in 2003. Currently, still holds a GDP of 600 million. And last year, for the Linden dollar, which is what they use at Second Life, $83 million was transacted from this Linden dollar virtual currency into real currency, where the creator economy is basically extracting value into real dollars. So some of that second aspect is also booming on the entire live side. The work side, that's where there's probably been the biggest stagnation as such. Everyone touted Microsoft, everyone was jumping in, creating collaboration tools, you had Meta, etc. That's the space, if any, where we've seen things really slow down or come to a standstill. And then the last is, of course, digital assets. And yes, with the crypto winter, as you mentioned, there's been a bit of a slowdown, but then everyone, it's really a divided camp. So from a hype perspective, yes, I think it is a space that can go either way. But if you're betting on it, where it seems all the indicators, actually just more timing of when. So from our perspective, even we've put out a statement that we are still in the game because we do believe that there's a certain amount of gravitational pull and demographic pull that will happen. It's a matter of timing. And organizations that are ready are going to hit that wave at that right time.
Yeah, so it's a matter of time. I think that corroborates with a lot of the research we've done as well. Our house view is that the metaverse in Asia and these technologies are going to have a $1 trillion GDP impact on Asia. So it's slowly but surely going to get there. And Sebastien earlier raised two interesting threads, one on culture and one on avatars. I definitely want to get deeper into those themes in a minute, but maybe I'll let Nikhil comment on this. So, Nikhil, for sports and gaming, there is a lot of emotional connection with these activities. How do you build that emotional connection in a digital world?
Yeah, so to create the feel or the emotional connect you feel at a stadium, online is really, really difficult, right? And it has to start not by having one product that kind of serves everything, but making sure you're there on all the platforms where a fan is there today, right? Whether it's long form content on broadcast or OTT, right? To short form content on YouTube or Instagram, right? Or even much more smaller towards TikTok that's there, right? A lot more editorial, you're also there on VR. So basically make sure your content is easily available at all platforms, right? That's one way where you can continue connecting with the audience that's there. Beyond that, it's also about where can you really build a lot of immersiveness, a lot of interactivity that's there, right? That's what a lot of the physical stadium is about, that you are going in with a friend or family and actually watching the event together, right? Today, platforms like Sandbox allow you to, be much more social, right? Go through experiences together, right? Which platforms like Facebook or social platforms, you have a one-way conversation, you're reacting towards information, you might be commenting, but when you go to a VR experience that's there, or you go to Sandbox, right, you're all in it together, right? So it's about making sure you're one, there at all platforms to make sure you're connecting with the audiences, and two, on specific platforms, make sure you build a lot more immersive content that they can interact with, right? And over time, you'll start seeing a lot more communities actually developing on those platforms. It's not going to be easy, right? It's not like, for example, you launch a product on Sandbox or on any other platform that, tomorrow all of your audiences are going to resonate. It's about how you keep delivering, how you keep making a much more stronger product. Even on the broadcast and the experience that's there at the stadium, you keep innovating. So it's the same journey, right? You need to keep building at it.
Nice. So I think maybe back to Sebastien, right? Earlier you were talking about avatars, and we know Sandbox is you have these boxy avatars, but then you're saying people feel such a strong connection to their personal identity, and also building those social connections that Nikhil talked about. What's the secret sauce in Sandbox?
So, well, I think I will echo what Nikhil said, and I think it's not about the aesthetic representation. It's more like how you develop emotion, interaction, and memories together. And that's what brings us back into those virtual worlds. It's not like how we look. It's more about what we've done together, what brought us together initially, but that will keep us together into those worlds as we explore, we play, we have fun, we make new friends, and so on. So it's more the social context that it adds. One thing I like to think, to say quite often as well, and it's kind of the topic of this question, how to be a better human in a metaverse and virtual world. But actually, the first thing I think about, and I say when you enter the metaverse, the first step you do is to create an avatar. For the first time, you actually have the chance to choose who you want to be. You're reborn. And who you want to be as a human doesn't necessarily mean to be the same person that with the same physical appearance than you have in the real world. Going even further, you can be a man, a woman, a non-gendered person, or even a non-human creature. That here comes the fun, like really choosing your appearance, choosing the community you belong to, maybe having multiple identity as well. And all of those exist as an extension of your physical self in a ubiquitous manner. Like you don't, in Sandbox specifically, because you're not in VR, immerse yourself physically as the avatar. You can have that multiple existence that coexist. And then from that moment of time, you're actually being valued for how you contribute to the platform, how as a creator, as a player, as someone who's going to help or participate in events or activities from those communities, and not being valued for, I don't know, like your social status, your education, the country you're born from, etc. So you really break through all those barriers that exist in the physical world for being more integrated, more accepted as well. So quite often, actually, we often say as well, the metaverse is the dream world for the introverts. It's a place where like timidity is no longer exist and like we can let ourselves be, and that goes into that goes into like giving more chance, more opportunity for many people to discover new skills, new talents, and access opportunities. Not only from the top tier of countries of the world, but also like for many regions of the world, which have been left off by like the Web 2 or the mobile free-to-play revolution. We're thinking, here we're in Singapore, it's a developed country, etc. But I'm thinking countries like Turkey, like India, a great part of Latin America, etc. They didn't really have that same opportunity than we have to access technology, to develop monetization model, to access the same level of salary and job than here. And yet their skills are essentially the same. Their creativity can be the same. So really bringing those opportunities to new people is as important and will help to create a better world. One more thing I like to say as well is like, if we're ready to accept more people who what they choose to be in virtual world, maybe that value will go back in the physical world and will build a more accepting physical world. Maybe not today or next week, but over the years, as that next generation, that Gen Z, which spend like more than 12 hours in virtual world, will shift their value and the way they perceive each other. So that's, I think, will have definitely a great positive impact.
A lot of food for thought there. I just want to pick up on that point on culture. It seems to be a point that you keep coming back to, and it is a very, very inspiring vision. As you said, it's very different from the approach that other tech platforms or the Web 2 has done, where there's a lot of focus on your Western English-speaking world. Now, tell us a little bit about this localized strategy and why that is a good approach to go with. Besides the purpose and meaning, has it been a good business strategy?
Absolutely. So since Sandbox has been starting roughly the blockchain-based version, decentralized, started about 5 years ago. And progressively, what we've seen is like more than 40% of the activity, the business of Sandbox, the partnership, the creators, the landowners, has shifted toward Asia. And that is a result of having a local presence on the ground in Singapore, in Thailand, in Korea, in Japan, in Hong Kong, in Turkey, if we extend it. And that has really shifted our vision toward, like, rather than most of the Web 2 companies do, like basically go big in the US and then wait to extend to the world. Our approach is like be more local, more regional, as early as possible to aggregate a different kind of audience and a different perspective, not create a westernized version or vision of a metaverse. Bring them in, let them become successful, and ultimately grow from there. So that goes back to this idea, like to empower anyone to become a creator from anywhere in the world, like we have to like bring that opportunity as local as possible, and hence come the partnership with brands like One Championship or DBS, which has a strong presence in this region, so that it speaks more to to the local audiences, local fans who will want to enter from here, but then explore the rest of the world. And that brings along the brand, that brings like their culture, their heritage, their value, their stories, their tradition, and it tells it to audiences from all around the world.
So since we're on the topic of local, we have to ask the local bank here, Bidyut. So how do we bring even your tech-savvy, non-tech-savvy audiences into these immersive experiences? Is that important?
Yeah, I mean, if you want more diversity, more people, more fun, then bring them all in. But yes, it's these days, it's all about experience and how frictionless you make the experience, how easy you make the experience. The complexity of a technology, say for example, the latest rage, ChatGPT and generative AI, complex technology, but the simplicity of the interface and the simplicity of the usage is what allowed that hockey stick of usage where everyone could just easily participate. No training manuals, no masterclasses, nothing needed. So if you can create an experience that is that frictionless and that seamless and easy and intuitive, I think that's the number one winning. The other is the pull, the draw, create the experience that people want to have. I mean, even myself, I still game a couple of hours every day, and it's because I want to rather than I need or have to. So as long as you can stick with those two principles of making it really intuitive and creating content that's a pull, I think you'll draw the people in.
That's a great sell for working in DBS. You still get to play games a few hours a day. But, there's another side of you. You are a Bollywood actor, you produce films. Any tips for the audience in how we can use storytelling to build better digital experiences?
Okay, firstly, the fact that I'm here is I'm a shit actor. So obviously that didn't work out. So I don't know if you should be taking tips from me. But the essence of why I guess I wanted to get into acting was to the point that Sebastien was making was, I thought it was so fascinating that I could be a doctor and then suddenly I could be a pilot and suddenly I'm a spy, etc., etc. So the ability to just change and be all of those things and live multiple lives in one was the attraction to be an actor. And I guess it comes to the same. If you look at, I guess, humanity or people as such, I mean, the reality is most stats say that people are living and they are working and spending a majority of their time in jobs that they don't like and don't enjoy. It's a means to an end. And why do we make those choices, or why do we not chase our dreams? Is because we're scared of failing. The stakes are too high. So you make your choices on what you study and the career and profession because that's going to bring you the money, which is what you need. Yeah. So from that perspective, if you look at why people love all these stories, it's generally they will have an affiliation or an affinity to that risk taker. The person that went rags to riches or who broke the norms and who tried and succeeded. It's that sort of stories is what we all sort of gravitate to because a little bit of us wants to be there. So that's why, again, when you think of alternate realities, etc., the ability to lower the risk level or so we call it catharsis, the ability to try, an ability to live your dream, but with maybe a few clicks and maybe a credit card or a Web3 wallet, it's all it takes. And that's where you essentially have that bridge. So with the experiences, the ability to create that, to allow for that, to let people unlock their potential and live their dreams. That's why I think it's fun.
And I think your point on failure and the earlier point that you made that, on the work side, adoption is a bit slower. Perhaps it's this fear of failure. So Nikhil, maybe I ask you, what happens if some of these experiments you've done fail? You put in $100,000 to build a very nice experience and only 10 people show up. What then?
Sure. So I think the first thing before you embark on any product, right, is to have a very strong thesis about, why would this work? Who would it work for? How would they engage, right? If you spend a decent bit of time, analytics and insight, looking at market research, understand your audiences, what they connect with, hopefully you won't have 10 users who actually show up. It can be relatively lower, but if you have the right thesis, hopefully it should give you the good building blocks to get started, right? But by chance, if you do fail, if you do put out something that doesn't work out, I would say the most important thing is the postmortem, right? Really going back to the drawing board in terms of what didn't work, and even taking all the data and analytics that you have and maybe making on the next version of that. But I would say before embarking on any large product, I think coming up with a very strong thesis is really important, right? You need to spend a decent bit of time over there with your audiences.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll give a counter view. My view is put money aside and say this is money that I'm going to waste and it's going to never come back, and then build a real crazy experience.
Yeah. So if you have one of the biggest quarters of profitability at DBS, I think you have the flexibility to say that. But yeah.
All right. So
There's a time for experimentation, right?
Yeah.
So we're still so early in Web3. Like it's hard as well to have a good sense of what's going to make a return of investment specifically, and how do you quantify that? At Sandbox, we're quite transparent with all partners, and when you hear me speaking publicly, like the metaverse is not about revenue generation at the moment. Even if it sounds it's going to be $1 trillion market opportunity in 10 years, you first have to bring experience and content that hooks the user into and teach them new behaviors into it, like behavior of discovering avatar-centric experience, not playing games, but playing social experience with gamified mechanics. And that goes with like a lot of iterating and tweaking until you figure out something that's sticky. Looking back at any previous platform and technology, it took them about 3 to 5 years to mature a model. Like free-to-play didn't come out of the box on the mobile game. Before there was premium and ad-based. And then one day they figured out like we could sell virtual currency. And it took a few years back until like top grossing studio like became expert at data-driven decision and user acquisition, the CPI versus LTV formula. And it's not an exception, it's more the norm. So we need to get back into like creativity, bringing creators who never made game before, so they are not formatted by a certain thought model or business model, and they can change what we've seen before. That's at least what we believe at Sandbox.
So I hope that convinces many people in the audience who are still kind of holding back and wanting to, test the waters. The advice from our panel, jump right in. But have a clear thesis before you do that. Maybe with some extra money you stashed aside and don't mind saying goodbye to. But also have patience and just be prepared that this it takes a few years to experiment and find that the right formula. So, I think we could go on for a whole other hour on these topics and with this very, very interesting panel right here. But I think we'll have to come to a close. So maybe just as a final thought to leave with the audience, can you give me one sentence to you? What does it mean to be human in a digital world? So maybe Sebastien, we start with you, and then Nikhil and Bidyut.
To be human in the digital world, I think I touched about it, is really to have this ability to choose who you want to truly be and be accepted for that by the community.
Nice.
Yeah, I think, just to echo with that, right? It's the freedom of self-expression. Whenever you, jump onto Sandbox or jump into a game, right? It doesn't matter which country you come from, what is your religion, and what your background is. All that matters is your game attack, right? And what you do inside that world. So I think the freedom of self-expression.
I'd say go big or go back to the real world.
All right. Thank you so much to the panel. Can we please put our hands together?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.